Red Bull and the FIA have a bit of a history of disagreements. It was no secret that earlier in the season, many teams, one of which was Red Bull, was open to parting ways with the Federación Internacional de l'Automóvil, but that seems to have quietened down as the season has continued. This disagreement might not stretch that far, but it does have huge consequences on the drivers' market. So whose super license is in question, and why are F1 so against it? Also, what does this do to the driver market? Let's get you filled in. There's been a lot of talk recently about Colton Herta and the potentially empty seat that will be left by an Alpine-bound Pierre Gasly. I know a lot of you will be wondering who Colton Herta is. Following Formula 1 is time-consuming enough without watching the feeder series as well. Stretching all the way to IndyCar is probably too much for 99% of the F1 fanbase. I know people in the comments are going to say that they watch both, but you're the minority, I'm afraid to say. For those of you who don't know Colton Herta, let me give the synopsis. Colton Herta drives in IndyCar, which is kind of like Formula 1, but also not. There are loads of other videos out there on the differences, so we won't do that here. All you need to know that it's a single-seater racing like Formula 1, and it is very competitive. Colton Herta is the youngest ever person to win an IndyCar race and is considered the best American talent in motorsport at the moment. Take from that what you will. He has won plenty of races and has finished second in a championship, but doesn't have a title yet. At only 22 though, he has lots of learning still to do and is considered a serious world-class talent for the future. Red Bull are very serious about bringing him into the team as a replacement for Pierre Gasly, who's expected to go to Alpine. More on that later though. That Gasly move probably rides on Red Bull's ability to bring in Colton Herta. Like we just said, they want him because he is an incredible talent, and if successful, could be a great successor to Sergio Perez in a few years' time. They also want him for the American market. Having the only American driver in F1 would bring in American sponsorships and the Scrooge McDuck pile of money that comes with them. That is a two-hit combo that's hard to turn down. The big problem though, and the reason that Red Bull are going up against the FIA again, is that he doesn't have enough super license points to be awarded a super license. He's only viable if Red Bull can gain an exemption from the FIA to forego Herta's lack of the required 40 super license points, a bar he has no clear path to clearing this year in the final two IndyCar races of the season. It's nothing unreasonable, Marco said in a radio interview when talking of the attempts to secure Herta an exemption. He won 7 IndyCar races. That's comparable to Grand Prix races, so it would be a shame if he wouldn't get the super license. When asked if the FIA granting Herta a super license would lead to Herta joining AlphaTauri, Marco said, "Astonishingly enough, all the parties and teams involved, we found an agreement." This is an interesting comment from Marco and hints at the fact that AlphaTauri, Alpine and Pierre Gasly may already have an agreement in place for 2023. But again, we'll come back to that. Marco says Red Bull is still waiting for a definite answer and claims a decision will be made soon. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner called Herta an exciting talent and hinted that he was Red Bull's first choice to replace Gasly if the Frenchman departed. An American guy who's been a standout talent in the US, Horner said of Herta. It will be very interesting to see how he performs in F1. To have a successful US driver could be very interesting. While Herta waits to learn his fate and whether or not he'll be swapping series next season, the driver says he didn't even know that any Formula 1 teams were interested until the AlphaTauri stories broke. Colton said, "When I heard about the interest, it was a bit of a surprise because I didn't think I was on anyone else's radar. Everybody at McLaren seemed really pleased with how the test went and how physically and mentally prepared I was. So I think that helped. But yes, I was a little bit surprised to hear about AlphaTauri's interest when it initially came out." He is of course referring to some testing he did for McLaren earlier in the season. Herta currently drives for Andretti Autosport, who are linked with McLaren through Zach Brown. The team were apparently very impressed with how he performed. Asked about the super license situation, Herta says while he understands the FIA wanted to give precedence to FIA-backed series, IndyCar gets an unfair deal. "I think there's a lot more to it, and I truly do understand both sides of the argument," he said. The FIA want to protect their ladder series and they want their drivers to go through their system. But I do believe IndyCar deserves a little more recognition, besides being split between F3 and F2 for points. And this is where the problems begin for Herta. The super license rules are very strict and accumulating enough points can be tough. The easiest way to gain the 40 points required to be awarded a super license and then be legally allowed to drive in F1 is by winning the feeder series of F2 and F3, as well as a few series before that in more junior categories. These series are specifically there as a way for drivers to get to Formula 1, and the FIA obviously wants to keep as much talent in them as possible. Under the current super license system, Herta has only 32 of the 40 points needed to join the Formula 1 grid, so the FIA is weighing up whether force majeure could be used to aid Herta's pursuit of the super license. Having an American driver on the grid is very much a target for Formula 1. Such is the extreme growth in popularity which the series has enjoyed in the nation. Though Stefano Domenicali, the head of the Formula 1 group, wants this to happen in the right way and within the boundaries of the rules. The sport needs to respect the rules, Domenicali said in an interview. And of course, American drivers or other drivers are very important. If he is eligible to come into Formula 1 because he has the points, it's fantastic news. But there is a ladder to follow, there is a protocol to respect, and that is the situation. So it's really what I believe is right to do. Take this with a pinch of salt, Domenicali is heavily tied to F2 and F3, as well as heading up the F1 group, so he's supporting his own interests here. Currently, IndyCar ranks alongside Formula 2 as the highest paying series in terms of super license points. So what does Domenicali make of the suggestions that changes should be made to the awarding of points in IndyCar? I don't think it's right to change something retrospectively, he said. I think the right thing to do is to apply the rules. And if there is some point to be discussed, if there is a need to update the rules, there is the right forum on which everyone can bring ideas or points for discussion. But today, the rule is that one should be respected. That's my opinion. As the situation is at the moment, it's impossible to know if Herta will get his license or not. The FIA can be as secretive as the most nefarious of cults sometimes. Absolutely nothing gets out. This move does have a lot of the driver market hinged on it though. I've been teasing you with the Pierre Gasly bit, so let's cover it now. Recently, Pierre Gasly has become the out-and-out favourite to take the empty seat at Alpine. Having been shunned by Fernando Alonso and then their own backup Oscar Piastri, Alpine have decided that the Red Bull's perennial backup is the best choice for them. Gasly does have a contract for next year at AlphaTauri though, and if the team are to let him leave, they'll want someone very promising to replace him with. At the moment, it doesn't seem like AlphaTauri think any of their 4 junior drivers in F2 are suitable for a space yet. Liam Lawson is currently the leader of the 4 in the championship, but he's only done well enough for 5th position in their drivers' championship. It seems that if AlphaTauri can't get Herta, then Pierre will have to stay, which means Alpine will have to move on to their 4th choice driver to pair up with Esteban Ocon in 2023. With everything that's happened to Otmar Szafnauer and Alpine this summer, they are obviously staying very tight-lipped about who they want to bring on board. Otmar has let on a little though. In a recent interview, he revealed, "We have a long list." It was then put to him that in the past he'd named a total of 14 drivers. And that's about right, confirmed Szafnauer. The team now wants to examine all options, the 58-year-old explained of the unusually long shortlist. "We now have to break this list down to 3 or 4 drivers, then take a close look at these drivers and decide who fits best." It has gone past the point of being able to take educated guesses at who might win that seat. Perhaps Alpine could host an X Factor style game show and have Alpine team members and former drivers sit on the panel to decide the best fit. Would make for some great TV for the fans, don't you think? What's your opinion then? Should the FIA grant Colton Herta a super license or not? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.